If you want to get in any question you might have on the top of your mind for Zach Bryan or any member of the GBag Nation, we can field those as well at 877-881-1053. Can Porter fall to 26 like he did on the Love of the Star podcast mock?
That was crazy. Like, Bobby, we were using, it wasn't the Pro Football Focus one. It was another one that he has, Draft Pro or something like that he thinks is actually pretty good. And it was really kind of strange. There were several picks that went ahead that were like, that was a little bit of, and then Porter kept, and to me, it was a very simple one. I don't know about you, Zach. Porter's the 9th best player on my board.
He's my number one corner in the entire draft.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I'm with you as well. I think if he's there, it's a no-brainer to have him. And in your mock scenario, Jackson Smith and Jigbo was also there. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a dream draft wonderland. I don't think that he falls. I still think he's going to be taken somewhere in the top 24 picks. Like, I'd be surprised if Jacksonville passed on him at 24. But, man, if he got there, that would be an absolute dream scenario.
Joey Porter, cornerback. What school?
Penn State.
Penn State.
And he's the son of Steelers linebacker Joey Porter.
Do you guys think you can make a quality addition at cornerback outside the first round?
I think so.
Absolutely. I think corner is one of the more deeper positions in the entire draft. I think you can find a good one in the second round. Like Emmanuel Forbes is a guy that I think is a first-round corner. He's my third-ranked corner, and he's probably going to go in the second because teams are scared of his weight. He's the skinny guy, but a guy like Corey Trice out of Purdue in the third round.
Yeah.
I've got him pegged. We saw Tariq Woolen out of UTSA last year. He was the dominant rookie corner outside of Sauce Gardner. I think Corey Trice is my guy. If I don't take one in the first round, he could be this year's Tariq Woolen.
Yeah, DJ Turner, too, from Michigan is a pretty good one as well. You need to keep an eye on.
903, what scenario could you see the Cowboys trading up, Mike from Corsicana?
I just don't, me personally, I just don't think that's their MO right now. I don't see a scenario because to me, the players that they like, where they've set themselves up is any player they take could help their team. So I don't think they have to be aggressive to go get somebody. If they don't like I'm just using the running back as an example. If they don't like the running back at 26, they could take a running back later. If they want a tight end, not in the first round, they could take a tight end a little bit later. If they want, like we mentioned, a corner, they could take that later. The position that's probably going to force them to maybe, linebacker would have to be, I think they could sit. It just doesn't stretch as much. So if you were interested in one of these linebackers, if you thought enough and you don't think you're gonna get a shot at him, that might be the small trade up. And depending on what you think about Sanders from Arkansas or Simpson from Clemson. Those seem to be.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because every other position stretches for them. The position you would probably trade up for is one that you don't think is going to stretch as much.
Right. And we don't have enough that you can depend on at linebacker yet,
right,
to go into a season.
Now,
right.
I don't have a first-round linebacker. To me, I'm not trading up for one. But okay. I get what you're saying there because the majority of these guys probably aren't going to make it to 58. So you're kind of in a spot where if you really want one, I think maybe moving up from the second round would be more likely for me than in the first.
The thing that's going to, I think you're still in play for positions you're talking about, even if you say you were to do that trade with the Colts where you went back to 35. I think you're still in position to grab a guard. I think you're in position to grab an edge.
Yep.
You could grab a corner. You could grab one of these tight ends. I'm starting to hear some non-buzzy things about Washington, the tight end from Georgia.
Not that.
What about
Darnell Washington?
Non-buzzy in a way that I don't think the Cowboys would take him.
Not at 26 there. The one guy I would move up for if he slid is Pete Skoronski out of Northwestern. Yeah. I think he is a ready-made prospect. He's going to come in and be a stud, much like I think his teammate in college, Rashawn Slater. He's a guy that if he starts to slide, you move up, you get him, he's plug and play, and you've got yourself a potential Pro Bowl guard like you did with Zach Martin for the next 10 years.
That sounds great. I would trade up for a guard if he's slipping a little bit. Drew in Sarasota,
well, the best
Florida.
guard you would, the absolute best one, yeah.
Where does Bryan have Gibbs in his stack? Would you rather have Gibbs and John Michael Schmitz or Bijan and Zavala or another day two guard?
I think they would rather have, and I'm just going to chat with the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys would be good with Robinson and Zavala. That's it. The Zavala is the guard from North Carolina
State.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of love. If the Cowboys don't grab a guard in the first or the second. I think Zavala is clearly in play at this point.
So you think they're maybe not talking about Bijan a lot because they're trying to get him to slip to him?
They don't think he's going to be there, I don't believe.
Yeah. This is Tate from the 817. Zach and Bryan, best position to take in the first round for the Cowboys.
For me, man, I think that probably I got more corners than anything in the first and edge. Like if I'm just going on best players on my board, corner and edge, I think the best for the Cowboys, though, I'm taking one of the guards.
Okay, the 575 says, is there still no chance of trading draft capital for Hopkins? Also,
I think they're out on that.
I don't think it happens.
That if that's going to happen, I think that's a draft day trade. But I much like we saw last year with what the Eagles did. But I don't see the Cowboys getting into those waters.
Okay, you got to listen to the rest of this text from the 575, though, Bryan. He says, can you guys make Bryan answer these questions a little faster? He's taking too long. Worse than Jared. Signed, Steve from Weatherford.
It's well played, isn't it?
It's a good
I
callback.
like that.
Little callback to the prank that brought us
I
pulled
like
on Jared last year. No, you're not taking too long to answer these
That's
questions.
amazing.
That's a good joke. Okay, at 877-881-1053. Think the Cowboys could find themselves drafting quarterback Duggan in the late rounds? I think he would be a great backup. That's Tolo Damian.
It's a TCU fan right there, I believe. Probably. I don't think they like him as much as others. I think the names you need to think about are Hall, Toon, guys
Aiden
like
O'Connell. Those
I
three
think,
right there.
I think Aiden O'Connell, if they're going to go draft a quarterback early in this thing, and I mean early like third round,
Okay.
I would say Aiden O'Connell would be that guy.
How about this 2-on-4?
That's
Seth
a Mike McCarthy guy, by the way.
O'Connell is?
Yeah.
And he's
Okay.
big. I mean, he's your prototype there.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could get our hands on his S2 score. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
Same with Duggan. 2-1-4, Seth from McKinney. What position do you think Cowboys could end up doubling up on?
You
Double
know,
bagger.
that's I kind of always think this is one of those cornerback classes I would double up on just because I think it's so darn deep.
I would say if you say double up, I would say if secondary would be clear. I think because you're looking into the future, there's not long term as far as contracts into the future. So corner, safety, I kind of feel like those are the position. If you say double up, and there's obviously saying corner,
right,
or
sure.
guard, whatever. But I think that looking at it this way, look at like in the secondary. I think they'd use multiple picks for secondary players before they would do anything.
Okay, no, I think this one might be for you, Chief. Why do people keep saying Dallas needs to pick up another wide receiver? Do they not believe in Cooks?
No, it's not Cooks that they don't believe in. I think it's Tolbert and Gallup that you don't believe in. I think there's a very real scenario where you show up in week 1, or you wake up in week 4 and you only feel good about 2 receivers, and that's Lamb and Cooks. Now, hopefully Gallup returns form. Hopefully Jalen Tolbert steps up and becomes a respectable NFL player. But at this point, there's no reason to bank on that. So that's to me the big scare, and that was your biggest problem when you were in San Francisco that night. You didn't have enough playmakers.
Well, and Cooks is a short-term problem solver, right? He's not here for more than 2 years. So that's when you're looking at the draft, you got to look big picture. It's not just a one-year selection.
Yeah, I don't think it's crucial you do it this year, but next year it will be between Gallup and Cooks in those situations. And if a good player's there for you, I'd love to take one this year.
People were asking me about Flowers from Boston College, like would they take him? And I had somebody tell me, it's like, well, don't you have that in Cooks? Flowers and Cooks are very similar to the type of the body types and stuff like that. One is established, the other's trying to be established. So everybody's like, what, or how many short?
I wouldn't mind having 2 of those guys, though.
Well, that's
But
I'll
cope
that
with
explosiveness.
somebody in the organization.
I've got a first-round grade on Zay Flowers.
Oh, that's somebody in the organization saying that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about draft the lakes for fishing, Bryan? Give us your top 3 picks for fishing lakes.
know what?
Within 2 hours of DFW.
No, man, I tell you what, my whole life, actually really 35 years of fishing has been, out there. I know at my lake, at Lake Echo, I know that Echo Lake, but the Caddo was one that they've talked about. Lake Fork was another
Caddo
one.
Mills is crazy.
Yeah.
You're trying to get some catfish in your game.
Yeah, but I think Lake Fork
nice
to
out
me
there.
is like, you talk about maybe going for a state record. Lake Fork is the place to probably do that if you're interested.
I love the name Lake Fork. We used to read stories about that in the fishing and hunting news when I worked up at that rag in Seattle.
God, you kick so much ass up there.
We'd be talking about Lake Fork to our Texas readers, and we had no idea what it was. but we just knew they loved it.
Yeah.
So we'd be like, hey, you ever been down there Lake Fork? Oh, that'd get them talking. One way or another. Either they'd been and loved it or wanted to go. Okay. Where will there be a quarterback competition if the right quarterback is drafted? Is that at all possible?
Not at all.
Nope.
Not happening. Especially not this year. And I don't think they're taking a guy before the 4th round, and that's where you'd have the players that we've mentioned already.
Okay. Hey, Eric, what do you think about the Dolphins' third-string linebackers?
I'll tell you, I hope Channing Tyndall ends up being a player. They
Did you out
drafted him
yourself?
last year. No.
I did yesterday because
Broadus did.
we had a story about the Dolphins, and my man broke him down like he covers them every day.
Well,
You can do that for every team.
You watch a lot of Dolphins. He can't do that for every team.
I can do it, but don't you dare do that. We're obviously coming up on a break here. We don't have time today, but at another
You're right.
date,
I think the majority of the AFC is, Eric. You got it nailed.
469, why not go out and re-sign T.Y. Hilton? There's a good question.
I feel like he's always going to be there for you.
he's always going to be there.
Like if they need T.Y. in a pinch, they need some help, they call him up, they say, T.Y., you want to run it back? He's going to say, hell yeah, let's do it.
And you're not talking about 2 months from now. You're talking about on Halloween.
Yeah.
You're talking about on Thanksgiving, dialing up old T.Y. Hilton, ready to rock and roll.
You guys crack me up. 661. Hey guys, Cedric from Lancaster, California. That might be Lancaster, California. Then what's going on with Cal Joseph? Is that Kelvin Joseph?
Kelvin Joseph. I mean,
Kelvin Joseph isn't going to be on the roster.
I was about to
after
say
camp.
that's not a player I studied. Cal Joseph.
Yeah.
You looked at me
You
like
missed him? Yeah, I looked at Brian like Cal Joseph.
Cal
He's
Joseph.
going to be the Nation Wright of this draft.
Oh man.
Gosh, I looked at 190 players. I should have looked at 191.
191.
I'll tell you, Nation Wright's brother, Ray John, he's a good player. I'd take him out of Oregon State. He's better than his brother.
I'll say this about Joseph. I think he's going to get the opportunity to compete for a position as far as playing in the rotation in the secondary. If it doesn't work out, they've lost a couple of their core special teams guys. I think that would be the next logical thing. If he doesn't make it as one of the rotational guys, he's going to play special teams.
682. If Will Levis falls to 26, you taking him? He might go number 2, right? That would be an Aaron Rodgers fall.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I'd take him for sure. Him or Hendon Hooker.
He's off my board because the mayonnaise and the banana peel
You
thing.
said bleep this. I'm not doing it.
Lake
Got
Tawak.
that S2 test too, man.
Yeah, well, he hit that pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, at 877-881-1053. It's an Ask Zach and Bryan anything about the draft.
Tawakoni, did you say was it?
Yeah, Lake Tawakoni.
Striper fishing and all
People
that.
coming in hard for the Lake Tawakoni
Lake
there
Tawakoni,
on the text. Razorback family here from McKinney. You think the Cowboys are thinking at all about taking Drew Sanders in the first round?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think Drew.
yeah.
I think if they get wiped out, I was talking with Todd Archer. He was doing his mock draft for ESPN, and he had Drew Sanders and it was getting close to where he was getting wiped out. And he knew that Drew Sanders is him or your guy from Iowa State, the defensive
Jack Campbell?
Yeah, no, Iowa State, the defensive end.
Oh,
McDonald.
McDonald, yeah.
Will McDonald.
He was looking at McDonald and Sanders as a possibility.
Absolutely. I think both of them, if they don't have one of their guys, like Brian's saying, Sanders is in play. McDonald, we know Dan Quinn likes. He worked him out firsthand, and that's a player that does show you a ton of bend. Physically, he looks the part. There were just plays that I was a little bit frustrated watching him. I'm like, man, you're too good. You shouldn't be getting blocked by certain guys that you're getting blocked by. But yeah, Drew Sanders is, and Drew Sanders gives you pass rush ability, and that's why I'm more open to that pick at 26 than I would be just your standard off-ball linebacker.
If we're going that route, man, I'll cross my fingers. Nolan Smith is available.
Oh, I am crossing my fingers.
Yeah, you would take
Smokes.
Nolan Smith.
I mean,
over him,
Nolan Smith's the guy that you might say, hey, if he's within 4 picks, do you move up to go?
You talk about
Yeah.
a guy like Bijan Robinson that has that high floor, high ceiling thing. That's Nolan Smith, where he could be picked. That it could be in the top 10, or it could be down near the bottom of the board.
Yeah,
Gosh,
Nolan has some Micah Parsons-esque to his game.
Yeah, the looks that Dan Quinn could play with the front seven on like pass rushing situations. Holy smokes, that'll be an embarrassment of riches, man.